Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. Magic Foundations spoiler season rages on, and oh my goodness, yeah, some of those teasers that Morrow gave out a little while ago are finally coming to fruition, and they do not disappoint. Let's jump into it. First up, we've got Needle Tooth Pack. Now, this I don't think is actually one of the teasers. That's okay though. 4/5 dinosaur for 5 mana in green. Morbid at the beginning of your end step. If a creature died this turn, put 2 counters on it, target creature you control. Yeah, this is probably more of a limited card. It might make the cut in certain very specific dinosaur decks out there that are like, yeah, counters too, which good for you if you're doing that. But if not, probably not. Moving forward, we've got Slumbering Cerberus. I'm a CP Doge with 3 heads. 4/2 dog for just 2 mana. What's going on here? This creature does it untapped during untap step. That makes sense. Morbid at the beginning of each end step. If a creature died this turn, untap this creature. Yeah, this seems like more of a limited card-ish. I guess like in a very aggressive strategy in Commander potentially, you could be like, okay, I'll get this out, and then I'll swing with a lot of things, and things will die, and then this will untap. Sure. Actually, there's probably some weird combos that you could do this as well. Oh, no, never mind. It's at the beginning of the end step. It's not just like a trigger. If it's a trigger on a creature dying, then probably combos. But no, this is end step. Never mind. Ignore what I said about that. No, maybe Dog Tribal could use this. Potentially, but probably not. Next up, High Society Hunter. Here we go. 5/3 Vampire Noble flying for 5 mana in black. Whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, put a counter on this creature. That's nice, and already, again, I keep mentioning this, but, like, back in the day, like, this is a foundation set. This is, like, basically like a core set-ish kind of vibe. And back in the day, a 5/3 flyer for 5 mana, it's like, what's the giant downside? It's like, no downside. Cool. Giant upside, though, because whenever another non-token creature, I should say, which does matter, yes, dies, draw a card. Okay, we got another Grim Haruspect, essentially. Yes, that is also in a very, 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 very relevant tribe with the vampires, of course. So, Vampire decks rejoice, number 1. You got another great vampire, again, a 5/4 or 5/3 flyer for 5 mana that can grow throughout the game just by sacrificing some smaller creatures. And also, every single time you do so, draw a card. But, of course, where this is going to see the majority of play, in my opinion, I mean, I guess vampires as well, but yeah. Aristocrat style strategies. Essentially, any of those strategies that are like, okay, yeah, go get your resummoning skeletons, go get your creatures that you actually want to sacrifice that maybe have death triggers, and all of a sudden you sacrifice them with a Viserys here or whatnot, and by the way, you are drawing an absurd amount of cards. On top of that, this is like a, mini sacrifice outlet for you. It's not really an outlet, I guess it's more like just a repeatable trigger each turn, so that's nice that it can do that for you. But of course, in most decks that are going to utilize this, you're going to have the real sacrifice outlets out there, the Viserys, etc., Goblin Bombardments, and the ones that you can just sacrifice creatures willy-nilly whenever you want, so you can just draw cards. Again, specifically non-token. A lot of these ones that actually draw you cards are non-token because, yeah, I mean, it's really easy to just make an army of tokens really quick and then sacrifice them and get 20 cards. There are certain ways you can do that. That being said, there are still plenty of ways to really take advantage of this and draw an absurd amount of cards throughout the game with this. Yet another amazing draw engine for aristocrat-style strategy, as well as, again, if you want to go vampires, cool. Or I guess maybe noble tribal. I don't know if that's a thing yet or not, but if it is, cool, congratulations, good for you. You've got another card for it. Moving on. Oh my goodness. A mythic that lives up to the name of mythics. A 7/7 Eldrazi, Sire of the 7 Depths. I don't know why I added it on there, but I did. For 7 mana. Sire of 7 Depths. There we go. Depths. Oh, goodness. I can't talk. Sire of 7 Deaths. There we go. First strike. Vigilance. Menace. Trample. Reach. Lifelink. Ward. Pay 7 life. I got all that right, but I couldn't say the actual name of the card. Okay. This is yet another one of those checked off the box. Okay, there you go. You got, the teaser that Morrow said that something has 7 keywords. This is 7 keywords. If you had on your bingo card, First Strike, Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Lifelink, Ward, pay 7 life. I highly doubt you had that last one, but maybe you did. Maybe you're very clever and you're like, you know what? There's 7, and they like to throw Ward on lots of things. So I'm going to put Ward 7, and it's like, nope, you're wrong. Technically, it's Ward, pay 7 life. No! Okay. Regardless, all the design things aside, yeah, this is a pretty, I mean, it's a pretty powerful creature. When it comes to, like, well, I think the term is French vanilla, is that right? Because, like, vanilla creatures are just, like, a 3/3 for 3 mana that has nothing on it but flavor text. This is French vanilla because it's a 7/7 that costs 7 mana and doesn't have any abilities or triggers. It's just literally keyword soup, chuck it on there. There are certain types of commanders out there that absolutely love keywords. Oh my goodness, they're in love with those. And if you're just a Tulpa fan, eat your heart out because this one's got 7. Again, it is interesting actually how they space these out. It's part is for reading it and making sure that you don't forget what it has. But yeah, First Strike obviously protects in combat. That is quite nice. Vigilance helps you keep some defense back with this as well. And again, being 7/7, it's pretty good about obviously getting through in combat and also obviously protecting you as well. Menace, again, yet another way to help you get through in combat. Again, can't be blocked by 2 or more creatures. Trample, get through with some damage, even if you are double blocked. That is quite nice. Reach, again, helps you with the defense, again, with that Vigilance too. Lifelink, gain you some life. And Ward, pay 7 life. Yeah, it's, I mean, again, life is a resource in Commander. Sometimes you can throw it around willy-nilly. Most of the time for 7 life, if you're at 40 life, though, you're probably not like, I really want to Swords to Plowshares this. That's a pretty hefty price for the most part. I mean, there are certain decks out there where you're just like, late in the game, you're going to have to at some point, rather than like taking 7 damage to the face. If someone just swing at you, you're going to be like, yeah, I'll Swords that. Okay, at least get rid of it. But yeah, it's a cool card. Obviously, Eldrazi decks will love it. Any kind of a keyword soup type deck will love it. Odric is in love with this. Odric is like, yeah, I'm going to disperse all those keywords to everything. Unfortunately, I don't think Odric has Ward as a dispersing keyword, but I think all the other ones are, because yeah, although the rest of those are definitely evergreen. Anyways, pretty crazy, cool card. Definitely could see play. And again, Eldrazi decks, colorless decks in general, keyword soup decks, just big beefy creatures decks as well. It's a really, really cool card. So yeah, I can see this one being pretty popular. It is obviously... It would have been pretty cool if this was actually a legendary creature as well, because you just like do like a Voltron around this. It'd be kind of fun just having all the things on it. Anyways, moving on to the next one, we've got Kellan Planner Trailblazer. That's right, Kellan is back as a 2/1 human fairy scout for a single red mana. I used to say that, you know, like oh my gosh, we've never seen any 1 mana commanders, and it's like finally we're getting more and more and more of them. Still, we don't have very many at all, so it is nice to see yet another one that is really low to the ground. Be like, all right, turn 1, cool, Ragavan, basically, but different, okay? Different Ragavan in a way. Pay 1 in a red. If it is a scout, it becomes a human fairy detective and gains one of the skills common damage to a player. Exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn, and then by paying 2 in a red, if it is a detective, it becomes a 3/2 human fairy rogue and gains double strike. So basically... yeah, it's kind of like a Build-A-Bear in a way. I mean, I can't remember the actual phrase for these is. It's like, gosh, there was that one Boros one that was like the original one where it just kept like, all right, I paid an extra mana for that, paid an extra mana for that, and it like keeps building to become something really cool. Anyways, this one, I guess the final form of this is a 3/2 with double strike. Sure, you can, I mean, the actual creature type changes. That might be relevant depending on what deck you're building, but most likely not. What really is relevant though, 3/2, double strike, deals common damage to a player, and then, Impulse Draw, basically 2, because you're going to be double striking, so hit again. So, yeah, I mean, Impulse Draw, you can do some pretty fun things with that. Obviously, like, any kind of advantages you get from casting from exile, that's quite nice. This can give you temporary card advantage, which is very nice to have on a commander, on top of being one that can hit decently hard as well once you get things going. Again, it's a 1-mana commander. Obviously, you've got to invest basically 5 mana into it to have it hit for 6, but still... of course, there are ways to really take advantage of it, having double strike as well. It's a pretty cool commander. Obviously, you could see play an aggressive deck as well, or one that really cares about potentially, well, utilizing, Impulse Draw and stuff like that. On top of that, make sure you keep in mind, and we'll talk about some cards that maybe work well here in a little bit, but yeah, ways to maybe just make it all creature types. So if you really want to skip the whole Impulse Draw thing, you can. You might not, but yeah, you can. Moving on. Next up, Alesha is back as well. Oh my gosh, Alesha who laughs at fate. Great name. 2/2, human warrior, first strike for 3 mana and Rakdos. Whenever Alesha attacks, put a counter on it. Raid at the beginning of your end step. If you attack this turn, return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to Alesha's power from your grave to the battlefield. Keep in mind the way that this one is worded. And yeah, the attack ones can be worded in some pretty weird ways. Not weird ways, but pay attention to this one because it says if you attacked. It's not if Alesha attacked. So essentially, doesn't matter who attacked. You can attack with anything. You can even, I believe rules lawyers out there let me know, but I believe you could just have attacked with something else, put Alesha in play, and at the end step, cool, Yeah, you get that trigger. Even though Alesha wasn't anywhere near combat or saw who was attacking, it does not matter. And I'm pretty sure that works that way. But regardless, yeah, Alesha does not have to be sent into danger, which is nice. That being said, Alesha does have first strike, and every single time you attack, you get more counters on it. So essentially, it's going to be protected in combat a decent amount. You're probably going to want other ways to either get it through or protect it further. We'll talk about some of those here in a little bit. But yeah, a massive reanimation kind of effect, which is quite nice. Like, it is going to start off small, and there are certain creatures which you're completely fine with it starting small on, because some creatures that have power even less than, I mean, the base of this is 2, right? Even less than or equal to 2, you've got some creatures you can cheat to play, which are amazing, and you're saving a lot of mana on those. Of course, plenty of ways to get those creatures into your graveyard in these colors as well. That being said, of course, plenty of other ways to pump Alesha as well to an absurd amount, which can be nice, well, for combat, and also when it comes to just being like, yeah, I'm just going to cheat out something absolutely massive, versus being like, I attack. All right, 1 extra counter. Next turn, I attack. 1 extra counter. Next turn, I attack. Yeah, that can take a while, especially if you're trying to build up to some massive, heavy-hitting creatures, maybe like our Eldrazi friend we talked about earlier. But yeah, you have other ways to pump, of course. Let's talk about them here and now. Let's move into a quick take on Alesha. And if you are interested in any of these cards, check out that card list link in the description below. First up, Vorpal Sword. Now, there's other cards I could have brought up with this one, but I wanted to bring up Vorpal Sword just because it's really fun. Artifact equipment for a single black mana, 2 to equip, +2/+0, and has Death Touch for the creature. Now, this is great with Alesha for a couple of reasons. It's going to make Alesha nearly impossible to take out in combat because, yeah, +2/+0 on Alesha equals, what, 4 power at a base, and Death Touch plus First Strike equals you're not stopping me in combat because I just have to assign 1 point of damage to you. You are gone with that Death Touch, and I hit first, so you are gone. Now, obviously, there's certain ways to get around that, like, you know, indestructibility, if the other creature has First Strike, etc., etc. Most of the time, though, this is going to get you fine in combat, and also, at least one of the opponents you're going to be able to swing at, basically, because Alesha's going to have, when you swing, an extra counter on 5 power. They'd have to block with basically 6 creatures most of the time to take Alesha out, and that's not going to be happening. So, on top of that, if Alesha does get through, you can also pay 8 mana in total until end of turn whenever, in Vorpal Sword gains, whenever a quick creature deals combat to a player, that player loses the game. Can be an extra way for you to win the game with this. Now, obviously, this might make you a target for your opponents because they're like, do you all want to lose the game? No? Okay, well, let's maybe take this equipment out of this player. Okay, regardless, any kind of a Death Touch equipment can be great with this commander, Basilisk Collar, etc., etc. Next up, of course, equipment's going to be great with this commander like Blackblade Reforged. Very simple, very effective. You're not in green, that's okay. +1 for each land you control, even if it's just, okay, yeah, I get this on my commander. Like, turn 4, I've got 4 lands, cool, +4/+4. That's huge. You're swinging with your commander. Again, that's what, 7 power, counting the counter on it as well. Cool. It's going to be much more protected in combat, especially with that first strike. And obviously, throughout the game, it's just going to grow and grow. Key to the City can be amazing with this commander. Tap, discard a card. Up to 1 target creature can be blocked this turn. On top of that, becomes untap. You pay 2. If you do, draw a card. Yeah, basically, this is a delayed rummaging effect, essentially, which is nice. But also, more importantly, make your commander unblockable. Cool, keep swinging through in combat. And also discard cards, which is huge because you're like, well, this really expensive creature in my hand, I'm not going to cast it, but I am going to discard it, get in my graveyard, reanimate it back out with my commander after combat, and I got my commander through in combat to protect. Quite nice. Prowler's Helm, yet another way to do so. Quick creature can be blocked up by walls, equip 2. And again, I am saying, like, your commander. It doesn't have to be your commander that attacks. You actually get that trigger at the end of the turn, as long as you attack with anything. That being said, if you're really wanting to get those counters, yeah, it helps to attack as well. And this is one that's basically your creature is unblockable unless you're going up against a changeling or if the other player has basically Arcades the Strategist, essentially. If that's their deck, then yeah, you're not getting through on them, but most of the time this will get you through on basically anything. Next up, Eye Collector. Certain low-to-the-ground creatures can be great with this commander just to really get things going, especially one like this that gives you extra value. A 1/1 flying fairy for a single black mana. Whenever it deals coverage to player, each player mills 1. So basically, yeah, get this down. Start milling, which is great because, again, each player, like your opponents may be like, buy cards! And you're like, yeah, whatever. I get cards in my graveyard. I can hit some maybe big creatures off the top of my deck, get them into my graveyard, get ready to reanimate, and of course, again, on those turns where I'm like, I don't want to send Alesha into danger, just swing with this. You're going to be able to get through on at least one opponent most of the time with that flying, and by doing so, again, you get that raid trigger. Next up, a Cursed Marauder, a great one as well. One that you can really use and abuse with this commander. A 2/1 zombie warrior for 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifice a non-token creature. Here's the thing. You can sacrifice this to itself. So, you get in play with your commander's trigger. Next turn, you get into play with your commander's trigger. Next turn, you do that. Basically, you're just edict affecting every single one of your turns, or combats, I should say. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Not combats turns, but still, a lot of spicy things to do with this one. Next up, Imperial Recruiter. Enters the battlefield, search your library for a creature card, power 2 or less, reveal it, put your hand, then shuffle your library. An expensive card, used to be much more expensive. Still, again, a 1 power creature, and that's something to keep in mind, and I should have pointed this out. The previous one as well, again, Alesha, at a base level, can just get this one out. The previous one at 2 power, like you need to attack once and you're there. This one just literally, you get Alesha in play. If you already attacked with something earlier, congratulations, you can get this out of your graveyard right into play. Then go tutor out some other great things into your hand that have low power, so congratulations, you got a lot of great things. Magus the Wheel at 3 power, still pretty low though. Pay 2 essentially, tap, sacrifice. Each player discards their hand, draw 7 cards. A repeatable wheel effect for this type of deck can be amazing. Help you just dig down into your deck, get to the cards that you need, and also discard some big cards to get them into your graveyard so you can cheat them into play with your commander. Roaming Throne, I mean, this card's just amazing with so many commanders. Wizard, you should never have made this card. What were you thinking? You're insane. 4/4, Ward 2, because it definitely needed Ward. Enters battlefield, choose a creature type. Choose whatever creature types you want for Alesha. As long as you choose one of the two, I think Human Warrior, right? There you go. Choose either one, doesn't really matter unless you've got, I guess if you have a lot of other humans or warriors, choose that too. All right, it's that same thing. If a triggered ability of another creature controlled the chosen type triggers for original time, that includes your commander's triggers. So again, you'd get 2 counters instead of 1, and also you can reanimate 2 creatures instead of 1, 2. Next up, Vile Entomber, a 2/2 with Death Touch, ETB, search your library for a card. That card in your graveyard, then shuffle. This is good for a lot of reasons. It's only 2 powers, so you can get out of your graveyard quite easily. It has Death Touch, so your opponents are going to be less likely to block it or swing into you. But again, for the purposes of raid, less likely to block it. So you swing through, and they're like, yeah, that's gonna swing and be fine. Okay, fine. Yeah, I'm not gonna take that out. So you can just keep swinging with this quite a bit. It's not dealing a lot of damage. On top of that, though, of course, when you ETB, yeah, go tutor a great creature in your graveyard to set yourself up. That creature might be Brash Taunter. Again, there's a lot of creatures, just literally like Scryfall search, like power less than 2 or 3 or whatever it is, and then CMC greater than 5. And all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, there's a lot of great creatures that essentially are really expensive to get out, but don't have a lot of power. Keep in mind, there are certain ones that are like equal to, opponent's life totals or whatever. Like that is different. Like, cause don't include that. Okay. Anyways. All right. 1/1 Goblin with Indestructible for 5 mana. Dealt damage, deals that much damage to target opponent. You can pay 3 and tap, and it fights out a target creature. Again, this is one that is really hard to deal with. You can just swing in combat, and it is completely fine. Your opponents will be like, what? No, I can't take that out. It's indestructible. So you just keep swinging with it, which is great. Again, you keep getting those triggers for your commander. On top of that, it's a great blocker as well for you. And yeah, you can just fight things for fun and just deal damage. Great. Gray Merchant of Asphodel. Gary. 2/4 zombie for 5 mana. ETBs. It drains each opponent based on your devotion to black. And then you gain that much life. Quite nice. Quite a good, easily usable and abusable card for this kind of a commander. Again, it's pretty low power. Again, just 2. You swing once with your commander, you're there. And on top of that, if you got ways to sacrifice it, you can keep doing it again and again and again. Lots of fun to be had. Speaking of which, Doom Weaver, a 1/8 for 6 mana. Again, literally just be like, all right, creatures that have tiny power that cost a lot, they're gonna have good abilities unless they're incredibly terrible cards. Like a 1/1 for 6 mana would be terrible, but this has a lot of things going on. Reach Soulbound. If it's paired with another creature your creature has, when this creature dies, draw cards equal to its power. Again, you will have other powerful creatures too, or just like your commander is going to gain power throughout the game, or you'll have ways to pump it as well. So essentially, if your commander gets dealt with, or whatever their big creature, you draw a bunch of cards. So there you go. Quite a good way to cheat something out and give you a lot of value very easily. Threefold Thunderhulk, a 0/0. So again, your commander can cheat it out whenever. ETBs with 3 counters on it. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, create a number of 1/1 gnomes. Equal to its power. You can also sacrifice artifacts, get counters on it. So again, that could be if you've got other artifact creatures, way to actually sacrifice them to be able to get them back out again and again and again. Next up, really quick, Rite of the Raging Storm. Again, having those like I can count on attacking with this kind of cards can be great for this kind of a commander, because you don't always want to send your commander into danger. I mean, if you don't have ways to get it through, ways to protect it, if first strike's not enough, This one's a great one. It's also just a fun card. Enchantment for 5 mana. Creatures named Lightning Rager can attack you or planeswalkers you control. Cool. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, the player creates a 5/1 red elemental creature token named Lightning Rager. It has trample haste at the beginning of each end step. The end step, sacrifice this creature. So basically, yeah, you get a creature that you can attack with. Cool. That will trigger your commander every single time. And also on your opponent's turn, you're going to be like, cool, I get a swing. Yay! Buried Alive, also very good card. Any of these Entomb type cards, this one especially, are great. Source for 3 mana. Go get 3 creature cards, put them in your graveyard, then shuffle. Again, set yourself up for exactly how you need to win. Go get the best creature in your deck that you want to just cheat into play and be like, yeah, that's going to be great. Oh my goodness, I forgot to include Master of Cruelties. Yeah, Master of Cruelties is incredible this commander as well. That's one it's like, hey, if it gets through, the opponent's life pool becomes 1. Quite fun as well. Include that one in your search too. Next up, really quick. Actually, you know what? I was inspired by this other commander as well, so I was just like, you know what? Let's do a double quick take. Let's see about that. I think that Kellan, it's a cool design. I like those, like the Build-A-Bear commanders. I guess that's what I call them, basically, where it's like, you know what? You get to actually put extra mana in there to do some pretty cool things. So if you are interested in Kellan, here's a little sneak peek at some cards that I would be considering as well. Again, link in the description below too. Thran Turbine is a very interesting, very old card. Artifact for a single mana during upkeep. You can add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. This mana can't be spent to cast spells. It's worded in a different way these ways, but basically, yeah, you just get free 2 mana that you can't use for spells. Cool, what do you use it for? Your commander's abilities. Being able to just, again, if you get your commander back out, if it got dealt with or whatever, or the first time, you're like, okay, cool. Commander, here's some free mana for your abilities. Awesome. Become that, what is it, a human fairy detective or whatever it is, human fairy rogue, and all of a sudden you are hitting as a 3/2 with double strike. That also gives me impulse draw. It's quite nice. Next up, Blackblade Reforged. Also, again, with that double strike, +1/+1 for each land you control. Again, you're not in green. That's okay. Just throughout the game, you will get more and more lands, obviously. And this counts for a lot. Again, if it's +4/+4, congratulations. Your commander's at, what again? 3 power once you are the fully Built-A-Bear. Then you have 7 power with this, and all of a sudden you're hitting for a lot. You were hitting for, what, 14 at that point? Again, obviously at a certain point, if you can get to 11 power on your commander, which is not that hard to do, it's a one-shot KO with that double strike. Next up, Trailblazer's Boots. Again, you're going to want to get ways to get through. This one gives your commander non-basic land walk. Chances are at least one of your opponents will have non-basic lands in play. There's also obviously other ways to do it. The flying, whatever. And it just can't be blocked kind of cards too. Hearthstone, a great way to also utilize those abilities to the fullest. The cost of each creature's activated ability costs 1 less. Can't reduce less than 1. That's fine. Again, our commander basically, again, changes the abilities to from 1 and a red to just red, and then 2 and a red to 1 and a red. So instead of it costing 5 mana in total to get to that final form, it just costs 3 mana instead, and that can save us a lot of mana throughout the game. Two-handed axe, a great way to utilize this card is, well, just get in play and equip it. If you want to give something else double strike, sure, or if your commander isn't fully evolved, sure, you can give double strike in this way with the adventure. That being said, whenever creature attacks, double its power until end of turn. Just this, plus our finally evolved commander equals, what? 3 times 2 is 6, times 2 is 12, because of that double strike. This really helps. And again, if we have any other pump effects, this makes them so much better. Again, easily getting our commander into one-shot KO range, at the very least, too. Maskwood Nexus, this is quite the funny card of this commander. If you really want to skip the impulse draw part, you can with this, because creatures you control are every creature type, the same as your creature spells you control and creature cards you own that are on the battlefield. You can also make shapeshifters that are changelings, too, if you really want to. That being said, this just, like, skips the process, because your commander becomes, like, a detective automatically. And, like, I skipped detective school because of Maskwood Nexus. And all of a sudden, I can become a fairy rogue, and now I have double strike. So if you don't really care about the impulse draw, which you probably do, but yeah, you can skip it if you really want to. If you're going like more just aggressive strategy, or if you don't have time to do that, you're like, all right, I have got plenty of cards. I'm fine. It's late in the game. I need to take that player out. I need double strike right now. I need a 3/2. Let's go. So that could be a card to include. Braid of Fire, very expensive card. Enchantment for 2 mana. Can move up, keep add red to your mana pool. Some players that are newer might be like, why in the world did they invent this? This seems like unfair and weird. Mana burn used to be a thing. It's no longer a thing. If you don't use your mana, that's okay. Basically, this just keeps building more and more red mana for you every single turn. It obviously is a great way to be like, hey, just activate your commander's abilities or any other abilities that you might have as well when you can do that. That being said, yeah, Aggravated Assault is a great card with a great activate ability. Enchantment for 3 mana. Untap all creature you control up this main phase, initial combat phase, fall to your main phase. Basically, you get extra combat. That's essentially what this is. And again, when our commander has a combat damage trigger, that is great. Again, like basically a double trigger, getting Impulse Draw 2. On top of that, again, being very aggressive with this commander, wanting to take players out through combat can be a great way to do so. Next up, you could kind of just skip the whole Build-A-Bear thing if you really want to do that and just go like super aggressive, low to the ground commander. Just activate that first ability to get the Impulse Draw for some additional temporary card advantage and be like, yeah, I'm just going to play Blood Mist. Enchantment for 4 mana in red at the beginning of combat on your turn. Target creature control gains double strike until end of turn. Sure, you're missing out on that extra 2 power and 1 toughness, but you might be like, it's not really worth it right now for me for 3 mana, so I'll just make this 4 mana investment to perpetually get double strike. Again, later you can be like, yeah, I'll make it, into a 3-2 when I want to. But right now, I just need that double strike. So I'm going to have this be a perpetual double strike throughout the game for me. That could be a direction to go. Obviously, there's other pump effects as well, like, but not Aggravated Assault. There's another one at 5, and there's another one at 6. Anyways, good cards. Visions of Phyrexia, enchantment for 4 mana in red. And if you're upkeep, exile the top card of your library, play that card this turn. So again, yet another way to get that impulse draw, essentially. And of course, there's ways to benefit from casting things from exile as well. If you want to list those cards, just go to like any Prosper list out there and be like, wow, there's a lot of good cards in there. And obviously utilize the red ones, which red is usually where that's going to live. That being said, at the beginning of your end step, if you didn't play a card from exile this turn, create a tap Power Stone token. So if you're not utilizing those impulse draw cards, all of a sudden you're getting Power Stone tokens, and you basically just need, 3 of these, essentially, to really make the most out of Kellan's abilities, because every single one of your turns, you're like, okay, cool, yeah, I'll activate, or not every single turn, but when you need to, you can activate and utilize these for the colorless mana, generic mana portions of the abilities, and any other ones you might have, like Aggravated Assault. Next up, Gratuitous Violence. Speaking of great enchantments, oh my goodness, enchantment for 5 mana in red. If a creature you control will deal damage to a permanent player, deals double that damage to that permanent player instead. Damage doubling is incredible this commander as well, again, because again of that double strike, you're hitting for 3. Now it's hitting for 6 twice, so it goes to 12. Again, if you got ways to double up power, ways to just get even extra power, I mean, literally, like, this plus your commander plus double power spell, once your commander is built to bear, equals, 24 damage? Good luck to your opponent. And even more with Seize the Day. And a sorcery for 4 mana, untap target creature of this main phase or combat phase, the whole extra turn thing. Or not extra turn, sorry, extra combat thing. You can also flash it back, so basically 2 extra combats for you with this. Swing with your commander, you can literally take out multiple people in the exact same turn with this if you really want to. And with that, this episode is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. In the comments below, let me know your thoughts are on this episode. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.